What is going on, dudes? It's Hunter with LS Lures here, coming back at you with another cast to catch video. Today we're releasing a bad little dude we call the Freeball Finesse Jig. It's got the same components as a little wizard jig, the same head style you like, except we've got two really awesome colors we're dropping. We've got a really light hand-tied skirt we've got on here. We'll do like a little cool close-up image right here. But these are awesome little jigs. They don't have any brush guards on them. They're meant for open water, sniping fish with live scope, fishing around rock, fishing around smallmouth, fishing for really pressured largemouth. These things are badass. We absolutely put them to work today. And for those of you who don't know, in this video, we're gonna go down how we make these, how we tie them. We're gonna go out on the water and catch a ton of fish with them. And then we're gonna drop a limited quantity on our website. The link is down below if you wanna load up on these. We don't have very many on there, so make sure you get them while they last. We've sold out of the last, I think this is the fourth one we've done, and every time we up the quantity and they sell out even faster. So we've got two different colors this time around. We're dropping a couple of them on the website. Be sure you get on there, load up on these suckers. They're awesome this time of year. You know, the fall's tricky, fish are everywhere, and a little itty bitty, teeny weeny finesse jig is an awesome way to scope around, fish from the bank, fish open areas, do whatever you want, but catch those fish on a jig. You can throw it on a spinning rod. We caught all of our fish today on a spinning rod and we had an absolute ball. So stay tuned, check out the process, load up on these suckers. Make sure you like and subscribe, all right? Let us know what you want to see in the future. Nobody's told us what to do yet, so you're leaving me up to my own freaking psychotic creativity and whatnot there, which has been an absolute blast. But we've got some bangers on the way. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Cast to Catch. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we were gonna do, we're gonna tie that Dirty Larry color first. We're gonna get a good base layer down just to make sure our thread's on there good. Nothing's gonna slip or do anything weird. Take our fancy scissors, and then what we're gonna do is we're only using one total tab of skirt material on here. So we've got two different types here. It's two of the main colors in Dirty Larry, and we are just gonna go ahead. See here, these are the two types that we're gonna be using there. We've got like a watermelon with some purple flake in it, barbed wire, and then we've got that clear green fish scale that's going on the bottom there. That gives it kind of that shad / minnow profile, but we're gonna take that watermelon on top first, give it a couple of wraps, and then we are going to go ahead and take that clear scale, and this is not a very complicated jig to tie. And that's kind of the whole point as to what makes it so effective, is because there is not a lot to it. The less skirt material this has, the more flow it's gonna have, the more natural action. It's not as bulky. It's gonna fall a little bit quicker. The sizes that we're releasing this week are 5/16. And then we'll go ahead and trim here and trim there. And then we'll check our lengths, and we might just take a little bit off the bottom there, but we have a super pretty, awesome little sniper jig. Now, moving on to our craw color, we're going to go ahead, again, put that base down. We're using a straight brown as the top. There's nothing too fancy about this. I wanted to keep this one as basic as possible, again, because I feel like when things get really tough, sometimes the best option is just to simplify the ever-living piss out of whatever you're doing. So especially for these little open water jigs, you know, I kind of took some inspiration out of a Ned rig, because you can fish it pretty much the same way as a Ned and just keep things super simple. So no crazy accents, no crazy wild colors, no crazy way of tying the skirt, just the most simple little ball head jig ever, because it is going to get munched. But there is our craw color. Find these on our website. The link is down below. And that bad little dude right there is going to get chewed. All right, so we made 2 different colors in this week's jig. Normally we only do 1 color. We don't do a whole lot of limited drops, or we're gonna do a lot of different colors, but this week I thought it was justified because, again, with this style of jig, what time of year it is, how guys are fishing, I thought it was only appropriate to release 2. One is a really close color to our color Dirty Larry. Only difference is we don't have some of that laminate spotted blue in there, but it's 2 out of the 3 main colors from Dirty Larry. It's the same colored head, and we added a little bit of a robin's blue accent to the bottom of the head there. This is going to be for those guys who are fishing around bluegill, fishing around some bait fish, fishing really gin clear water there, where, you know, you can mimic a whole lot of different things. It doesn't matter where you're at in the country. This color is going to mimic pretty much whatever they're feeding on there. It does a really good job. Just match what you're trying to imitate as the trailer there. So throw some green pumpkin if you want to be bluegill, throw something more shad colored if you're trying to imitate a shad or some kind of bait fish there. It does a really good job as a clear water craw too, because again, as this thing falls down, they're going to see a bunch of different colors as it hits the bottom. It's just going to be that green top and whatever your trailer is presented to them there. So really good kind of do-all color there. It's going to work from coast to coast, clean water, slightly stained water. That blue is a really awesome little accent color, where when it hits the bottom, every time that pops up, it flashes, and it freaking flashes them as it shoots down if you're casting individual fish there. But for the guys that are looking for some kind of bait to imitate bluegill, crappie, minnow, shad, whatever, this is going to be your option in this week's drop. Now, like I said, we couldn't just do 1. It's the fall, and I'd be doing you guys an injustice if I didn't have a craw color on here. So this week we made some kind of unique. We did more of like a kind of an amber dark brown craw pattern there. It's kind of like one that we're going to be releasing here very soon at the end of the month. Not quite. A couple things are a little bit different with it there. We didn't want to make it too similar, but it's got that copper brown head on it, just a straight brown back, and then that little pumpkin belly on there. This is a great craw imitator if you're fishing a little bit more stained water, the fish are keyed in on craws, or you just want something that's, if you just like throwing a brown jig, you know, fishing for those fish that are keying in on gobies, crawdads, anything living on the bottom, this is going to be your bait there. 2 awesome colors. They're going to work from coast to coast. They cover pretty much all the bases as far as bait fish goes, and these things are going to absolutely slaughter them there. Now, with these, there's a couple really interesting things that we can do with the skirt from this point. Okay, I know a lot of you are looking at it like this is very simple, Hunter. You're crazy. Why are you trying to act like this is a special jig? It is a special jig because it's so simple, you know. I feel like a lot of people try and overcomplicate things. I feel like we overcomplicate things sometimes, but they do work, and that's got its own special niche. But with these jigs, the beauty of them is they are very simple, and with really pressured bass, sometimes that's the absolute best thing you can do there to catch them. So with these, I'm throwing jig heads everywhere. With these, there's a couple different things you guys can do with them. Right now, as they're tied, that skirt's a little bit long in relation to where that hook is there. So you can leave it just like this. You can throw a little bit bigger trailer. You can pitch it around, do whatever you want, and leave it a little bit bigger there. Now, another thing you can do with this, and what I did today when I was out fishing, was I took this, and I took my skirt, and I chopped it down. So now this is much smaller. It's gonna have a lot more flare. We use hardly any skirt material at all on this, so it's going to be very quick to react with movements. Every time it twitches, when the water comes through it, it's going to be moving really well because it doesn't foul up on itself. There's not a whole lot of bulk to get in the way there. So I chopped mine down. I wanted to make sure I could present that trailer really well, and this little dude right here is going to be awesome. Again, like I said, for smallmouth spotted bass, fishing around those really pressured fish. The last thing that I would do with this, if your fish are really pressured, you want it to fall a little bit slower, which I didn't do this today because I didn't have to, but you can separate your 2 halves of the skirt, right? So now I've got both halves, I've got my tie in the middle, you can go ahead and turn this into a really awesome little open water finesse jig just by taking that front half and chopping it there. And now all of a sudden, you've got a really wide, erratic, quicker to move. This is gonna slow it down just a little bit more because that skirt is forced to flare like that. But all of a sudden, we've created a completely different jig look just by trimming that skirt a little bit. So do not be afraid to get in there, chop on that skirt a little bit, do a couple different things. You can make this jig into so many different variations if you want to. You know, I can go ahead and make it kind of like a little wizard, and I can get in here and I can chop out some of these middle ones to make them shorter, and I can go in the middle there and make these shorter, and now all of a sudden I've got a bunch of varying different lengths on the front. You know, it's a really awesome jig. You do what you want with it. But this thing is also, if you love fishing a Ned rig, this is going to be another way to get a little bit bigger bites in some of those areas where you're used to fishing a Ned rig. You know, you catch a lot of fish there on a Ned rig. This is a great way to upsize your profile a little bit. You can throw a Ned rig on the back of this sucker, drag it around. It's going to do the same thing. It's just got a little bit heavier hook, a little bit more bulk, and it weeds out some of those smaller fish there. Alrighty boys, now that we're on the water, I want to kind of talk about exactly how I was using this jig today, how I would use this jig pretty much everywhere. This thing is a badass little scoping jig. It's an awesome little sniper jig, you know, pitching it out there at targets, whether that be suspended, around grass, on the outsides of cover. You know, it doesn't have a brush guard, which means I can flick it around on a spinning rod on super light line really easy. The bad news about that is it doesn't come through brush really good. So make sure you have a Midwest flipping jig or a little wizard or something with a brush guard on it in case you get around some brush piles. Today I was just fishing around pretty much big grass flats. These fish are suspended up around the grass, above the grass, in the grass, and I was just basically combing through with live scope, finding those fish, pitching this jig on them. I was throwing a Revive Baitco hex bug on the back of it, pitching at these targets. The lake we went to today isn't known for having very many fish over 2 pounds. It's pretty tough. There's a lot of little ones in there, but we ended up having a really good day, caught some pretty decent fish for this lake. And again, just combed over that grass, found those fish, pitched this bait to them. We're throwing on a medium light spinning rod. It's a 6'8" Shields Ibisu medium light with 10-pound braid to an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader there. That's pretty different for me. I don't ever throw a jig on a spinning rod, but we've got a lot of requests. We've got a lot of customers that love smallmouth fishing. They love catching fish on a spinning rod. They don't like using a bait caster. They don't have a ton of bait casters, and they like that little finesse jigs. It's also going to be a killer jig around smallmouth, you know, open water flats, around rocks, boulders, isolated targets like that. Again, as long as it's not wood, then you're going to start to have problems with it again because it doesn't have that brush guard. But snapping it out of that grass, fishing more open areas, and fishing target specific things like individual fish, groups of fish, a heavier clump of grass. Most of the fish that we caught today came out of the thicker clumps of grass. We caught a bunch that we couldn't even see. You know, you find one clump that's a little bit thicker, it sits up just a little bit higher than a lot of the other grass clumps. Pitch that jig over there, hop it over the top, they come out and smoke it there. But every single fish was absolutely pinned on this bait. That hook is awesome. We put premium hooks into all of our jigs. We don't skimp out on absolutely anything. Skirt held up great. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this. Like use this skirt, you can finesse trim it, you can leave it as is. I cut mine just a little bit back so that my trailer had a little bit more action. That Revive Baitco hex bug was awesome. I used the same one all day, caught a ton of fish on it. But for those of you guys wondering, you know, like, where am I going to use this? How am I going to use this? Get a couple of them, play around with it on do nothing banks, on open flats, if those fish are out cruising. And if you've got live scope on your boat, put one of these on a rod, and when those fish are really beat up, pitch it over there, let it sink to the bottom, right past that fish. They'll swim down. Don't move it. Don't move it whatsoever. Just sit there and wait. And sometimes it takes 10, 15, 30 seconds of them looking at it before they do commit. But see what the fish's mood is. More often than not, you don't have to do anything. They're going to go down there, they're going to have their stare down, they're going to pick it up, and they're going to swim off. So be sure you guys check these out. This is a badass little jig. That is it for today's Cast to Catch, boys. Thank you so much for watching. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you all. Be sure you check these out. Like I said, we've got limited quantities available on the website right now. Link below. If you want to make sure you don't miss out on any of our sales that we launch every Wednesday, and that you don't miss another Cast to Catch jig ever again, sign up for our newsletter. That's also linked down below. We send emails out every Wednesday and every Saturday reminding you guys that we got badass stuff on sale and that we're launching new jigs there, new colors, new everything. So make sure you check those out, like and subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching this video. We'll see you in next week's Cast to Catch.